Hey, Presley, got a question for you. So, we've been using Threads for about a week now, and I just want to have an update session. What do you think about it so far? Any improvements? What are your thoughts when you've been using it?
For me, the app, as far as functionality, the app has been very stable. I haven't had a single glitch or any errors. I don't know if anyone else has, but I actually really enjoy using it. I have been on Twitter since 2013, so
Hmm.
about 11 years now, almost 10 years now. Can't keep what year it is straight. And I've never gotten, it sounds a little selfish, I've never gotten attention on Twitter, really.
Yeah.
Some of my friends used it in those 10 years, but the majority did not. The majority of my friends growing up were on Instagram, so that's where I've kind of already gained a following. And now that we
Hmm.
all have threads, um, the stuff that I post actually like gets seen by people.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a large amount of likes or anything, but I just get more interaction on that, which makes me want to use it more, and which makes other people want to use it more. I've had a lot of people. I get probably about 5 or 6 notifications a day saying so and so followed you and so is now on Threads.
Hmm.
But what do you think about it? What's your experience been?
Yeah. I think I said a little bit I was skeptical last week about it basically being through Instagram. But at first I was a little skeptical, but now I kind of like that. Like you said, you already have a following, so it's a lot easier. I think now they're past 100 million users, and it's basically because of that. It's the fastest growing social media pretty much ever. I'm pretty sure, because I mean, you already have an Instagram, and there's like a billion users on there. So even if 10% come over, then there you go. You're already up to 100 million. So I think it's just going to keep increasing. And as far as my own personal experience, I haven't used it as much as I want to in the future. But I think it's going in a good direction. I made a prediction that they would add some features last week, and they have not. But I'm sure they will. Um, I was actually seeing the founder, or well, maybe not founder, but one of the head people at Instagram and Threads talk a little bit how it might have been a little bit rushed, um, but they're gonna keep rolling out features. It came out at a great time with all the controversy of Elon Musk, and I think they kind of took advantage of that, and a lot of people like it. I think that there's a lot of talk about, oh, this is a censored, or it's left wing and Twitter's right wing, and everything gets political and everyone hates Elon or they love Elon, and all of that. Regardless of your view and your opinion on that, I think people should at least go out there, give it a shot, and just try it out, because whether you like it or hate it, that's up to you. But you should at least give it a fair chance. And I think probably over the future, probably we'll use it more and more. I know we've been posting, or Schmev has been posting on the awkward tapes thread. I think he's been posting some hilarious things on there. So I think that's a good direction. But yeah, so basically right now, I do have a question for you. Do you think, as it currently stands, take out all the factors, just look at the app alone, do you think Twitter or Threads is better visually, features wise? What do you think?
Putting me on the
Currently,
spot here.
just
Uh,
currently.
Current version.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're gonna wait. Threads. I think Threads is gonna wait a while before they start rolling out new features. I think right
Mhm.
now they're just riding the wave of everybody coming over and creating an account. Um, as far as which one is better, that's gonna be up to the end user.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just as a standalone application, there's not really one that's better than the other. Twitter has a lot more features just because it's been
Sure.
around a lot longer. I don't see Threads being held back in any way, shape, or form. I think that app is just going to continue to get better.
Mhm.
Um, it may turn into a thing, like you said, right wingers go to one, left wingers go to the
Yeah.
other, as far as politically. But if you're just talking about the application and its features, usability, the way it looks, I'd say they're pretty equal right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another thing though, I was thinking like obviously right now Threads is lacking on certain features, but that's just currently. What about in 2 years? So do you think in 2 years, not one, because hype can still stick around for a year, but after 2 or 3 years, do you think one will be more relevant than the other? Do you think they'll be pretty equal? Do you think it's something that'll last a long time, or is just going to be kind of like Vine where it dies?
If they keep the current trajectory, Threads might beat out Twitter.
Hot
A
take.
lot of people are sick of Twitter.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I don't want to ignore the political aspect of it. I feel like that's going to be, unfortunately, a thing to divide people, where one
Hmm.
group of people will go to one and one will go to the other.
Yeah.
So I don't think Twitter's going to die. I just think there's going to be more division amongst people choosing to use one or the other, which for us as content creators is a little bit annoying because now we have to post to both.
Hmm.
But I will say it's going to be a lot easier. That just made me think of it from the content creator standpoint. It's going to be a lot easier as a content creator, I think, to grow. If you're starting out like we did, it's going to be a lot easier to grow on Instagram than it is Twitter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's going to depend on how you use it.
Hmm.
Politicians, news reporters, those in the world of technology that already are established YouTube content creators, they're probably going to keep using Twitter.
Hmm.
Politicians, especially, it's been around longer. That's where everybody is because it has had time to grow. Everyone else is probably going to keep migrating over to Threads, but I don't think one or the other is going to
Hmm.
beat it out. I don't think anybody's going to win that battle. I don't think that's a battle that's even going to be had. I think both
Yeah.
will just still exist. I mean, do you think one's going to just die off?
I think like what you said, I think they're both going to be relevant. And I think, you know, one might be used in one political group or another or whatever, but ultimately Twitter stuck around. It's been around for a while. People are going to continue to use it. But at least for me, Threads, just the whole vibe of it does seem a little bit different than Twitter. And from what I saw, pretty sure this was head people in Instagram and Threads were kind of talking about how they want to stay away from political and news and just meta as a whole. Apparently, Facebook used to have like a news section on Facebook, and they decided to get rid of that because it just kind of added to the heat and the just basically kind of ruined the vibe of Facebook. And you can make a good argument for Twitter right now is heavily political and news oriented, which is fine if that's what you're into. But Threads, I think that they're trying to go in a little bit different of a direction, and I really would hate to see something as stupid as the politics of this get in the way. But I feel like it will affect pretty much everything. I mean, politics affects everything, but I would really like to see people give both a fair chance. At least for the future, for me, I probably will end up using Threads for us posting maybe more than Twitter, but for my own personal use, right now it's a little bit of a balance because I keep up with news, but I also like I really like the looks and how clean Threads is. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, they're very similar. I'm glad to hear that they're not going to use politics as the defining factor.
Hmm.
You're right. I didn't notice that, but I do remember seeing a news section of Facebook a while back. I haven't seen that in a while. So I'm glad they're intentionally, because I think that's the only way they could avoid making this political. I'm glad to see they are intentionally trying not to be political.
Yeah, which in of itself makes them kind of
Political.
political because then it's
Well,
like,
you can't get
oh,
away
well,
from
you're
it.
exactly no matter
People
what
are
they
going,
do,
yeah,
right?
whether the company makes it political, the users are going to make it political. But
Yeah,
I'm excited to
absolutely.
see where it goes from a content creator standpoint. I'm glad we have something else that's
Yes.
new, something to grow on. So I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it exists. And that's good to hear that they're not purposefully being political.
Yeah, I really like to hear that, and I hope that's kind of the direction they stick down. And I think if that's the case, it really could be just a very fun platform. That's what I've been seeing a lot of
Yeah.
people say. It's just fun. And part of that could be because it's new and it's just a fresh social media platform. And I feel like every social media when it's brand new goes through that phase. But in order for them to kind of keep that, it's it's gonna have to kind of keep that fun vibe. And right now, I think it's fun. Do you have any other thoughts on it before we move on?
I do not.
Okay.
But in that same conversation of Elon Musk and
Hmm.
Twitter, did you see he came out with XAI?
No,
You have. I'm
no.
surprised. I saw
When?
this yesterday.
Okay,
Yesterday,
so
I think it was
Wednesday.
either released yesterday or day before, which will be a week after
Right.
this comes out. But yeah, he is developing his own AI. I don't know if it's out or when it'll be released. I just saw the headline and looked at it a little bit. It looks
Okay.
like it will specifically be used with Twitter, obviously.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, Twitter and Tesla. It doesn't look like it's a part of his other X corporation.
Hmm.
That may change. But yeah, what do you think about another competing AI platform? It'll be a website, from
Wow.
my understanding.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. That's literally the first time I've heard of it. Yeah, that sounds like a really big deal. I mean, obviously I haven't seen anything of it. It's my just first impressions. I think that's really great because just having more people getting into AI is good. With Google getting in, OpenAI, Microsoft, all these companies, I would love for that to take place and then also be able to use that in social media as well. I mean, that could be really, really cool. Trying to think of how that would be implemented, but I don't know. Have you seen it anything of how that they would use that? Sounds really cool though.
I don't. I just saw that they mentioned they plan to use it with Twitter and Tesla,
Mm.
specifically, obviously, in their cars. I don't,
Oh
not for
yeah.
their employees or anything, I guess, but for their cars and for the end users of Twitter.
So I
I
guess it
mean,
would be open
whether,
for anyone to use if it's
oh,
on
yeah,
Twitter at least.
I think it'll be heavily utilized
Mm.
in Tesla vehicles and on the Twitter platform, but I think it's also going to be a separate website like Bard and ChatGPT.
That really heats up the competition between them and Threads and Meta and everything. That adds a
Yeah,
whole nother layer. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah. And it's kind of a back and forth. Elon buying Twitter was a long process, but fairly short in the grand scheme of things. And as far as business transactions, especially for how much he paid. So he
Mm-hmm.
buys Twitter. Things get political and
Mm-hmm.
controversial. And then Threads comes out. And now his new thing is he comes out with an AI.
That's great. The next thing he needs to do is come out with a competitor to Reels. That's the that's one area that Meta as a whole has up on them. Of course, that's not. I mean, Threads is supposed to be a direct competitor to Twitter, but if Elon wants to clap right back, he needs to make a competitor to Reels. And I think that would be amazing, and a lot of people would jump on board with that. Again, it would have that same effect with Threads where it's new, fun, and fresh. Well, it's going to be the same thing, and I think a lot of people are going to want to jump on that, and then it could kind of take away from the hype of Threads. When something gets announced and released, and then you come out with something that's just as cool or new, but it comes out just, a month or two later, it can really shorten the growth of what just came out. So I don't know. He might do that. I've heard nothing about that, but that's something that I've heard people talk about that he should do, and I agree.
Yeah, whether you like him or not, Elon gets stuff done. Like whether
Yeah,
you like him politically or as a person, he's a little weird, but most geniuses are. Uh,
yeah,
or even his personality and everything. He's a little standoffish, but he gets stuff done. Like he says, we're going to do this. We're going to have a successful electric car. He made it happen. There were electric cars that existed before that, but they all sucked. He said, "We're going to make it happen. We're going to have superchargers around the world, and
Yeah.
people are going to drive these things, and then we're going to make it affordable."
Yep.
The dude knows business. So the fact that he's now over in artificial intelligence, that's really going to step up the competition for the other guys.
Yeah, I would love to see them add, yeah, similar to ChatGPT, have its own app, and its own chat system. That also opens up when you do that. It gives them a lot of data as people continue to use it. So the more that it gets used, but again, I'll be curious to see the direction that they go down. It could be very specific, and it could be for Twitter users only. But I mean, I would really like to see them just open the door to all kinds of possibilities and get everyone on board with AI because it's really a race. I mean, whether you like it or not, people are going to be using more and more AI, and the people that get the most established are going to have the biggest advantage in the long run. People that jump on board like Facebook, it's been around forever. Well, it's still relevant, and they were able to grow things off of that.
Yeah, now they have a whole metaverse, and that
Hmm.
would be the ultimate clapback to Threads.
Yeah.
Come out with an AI, give it its own app, so you're releasing an app, and then you're going to start to build your whole network of vehicles, spaceships, social media, artificial intelligence, all that just coming as a clapback to Threads. If he did that, it's a genius move.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on that? I got
No,
something
that
else
was
to
it.
bring
I'm
up.
excited for it.
Yeah, I
What do
am
you got?
too. What I brought is the new Nothing phone. So this is a product. This is a new phone that's out there. I know you've heard of Nothing before and their brand, but this is their new phone that just came out, and I've been seeing some tech reviewers talking about it, and it looks very similar to the first one. If y'all haven't seen what this looks like, you definitely need to go check it out because it's a very unique design. And from what you've seen of the last one, I wanted to get your thoughts on the first Nothing phone. This is very similar to that, so nothing too different. But really, I wanted to kind of get into the discussion of these newer companies and how they are trying to compete with phone companies that's been established forever, like Apple, because what they're kind of doing here is they're really trying to be unique in the way that their notifications and lights on the back of the phone, it's transparent, has a really cool design, and they're really trying to stand out, and they're offering features that aren't even in my new iPhone 15 or whatever I have, 14. Yeah, I have the 14. There's some features on there that's not even there. So obviously we agree that competition's good, but what do you think about Nothing in their phone?
Well, competition is good. We said the same thing for social medias and AI, but
Hmm.
so I think the competition for the big flagships, honestly, the reason most people buy an iPhone is because that's what they've always had and they continue to go back to. It is simple and they have like
Hmm.
big ecosystem. But how would you describe the Nothing phone? Because I guarantee 99% of people haven't heard of this. And to
Yeah.
be honest, the last time I heard about them was a couple of years ago, so I really don't know that much.
Basically, take your iPhone, rip the backing off of it, put a bunch of cool lights. There's kind of like a circle kind of vibe, and then
I'm
there's
gonna
some
look it
lights
up.
around the camera. Yeah, take a look at it. There's basically lights all over the back of your phone, and it will interact with different things. So, like if you're getting a phone call, it'll light up in a different way, and you can actually customize how these notifications and phone calls and alarms show up on the back of your phone, what that looks like. And then, like, even for your charger, when you plug in the phone, it'll give you a status indicator of where it is based on that light. So they have these basically strips of light, and then within that band is little, I guess, micro lights, so you can kind of see the movement as things progress in real time. I saw something with like Uber. Like if your Uber ride's showing up, you can see the status and the progress of when they arrive just on the back of your phone. So some people think it's a little gimmicky. Some people think it's really cool. Some people are kind of in the middle. But I just really thought the design is really cool. You should definitely at least check it out. And then the price, it's only, I know I'm saying only, but it's $600. I'm pretty sure,
Oh, wow.
599.99. Which yeah, that's really great. It's not meant to be a flagship high-end top phone with the best processor, but it does have a fairly recent processor, and yeah, it has like 120 hertz giga giga whatever refresh rate. You know what I'm trying to say, and if you know what I'm talking about, for those listening. But it has that. It has Touch ID built into the display. It just has a bunch of cool different features. So yeah.
Maybe I'd heard about it a couple years ago. A couple of years ago, it says the first nothing phone came out last year.
Mm,
Huh.
yeah.
So I guess this is just going to be a yearly release like the iPhone. So it runs Android
Yes, their
or what they
skin.
call nothing OS. That's kind of
Mhm.
funny. So is the term nothing just kind of, you know, meant to be funny? Like it's not
I
actually nothing.
I'm not exactly sure why they named it that. It could be because there's like nothing around the phone, like it's transparent. All of their products, they also
Ah,
make kind of like a AirPod. They have these earbuds that are wireless, and it is transparent. Looks really really nice. I almost got them instead of the AirPods, but since I'm Apple person, I gotta get into the ecosystem of it. But I don't know that they're a company out of London, I think. And that kind of shows in certain areas of the software, like the way that they spell like color or just like
color.
yeah, color, just little things like that. But it's their skin on Android, which is what a lot of companies do basically. You have your like pure Android, and then Samsung, they're going to put their skin on top of it. It's kind of like that, but some of the features didn't seem too clunky and clustered. I know Samsung, they get a lot of crap because although they have a lot of features, it's very, how would you describe it? Just over the top and kind of clustered with everything that's on there. This looked pretty simple. So I feel like it's a cool concept.
It is. I don't know how many people are actually going to use it or how many are even going to hear about it. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
almost no one has. I
Hmm.
heard about them, I guess, last year and then never again after that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I have nothing wrong with companies trying to come out, especially if they're a lot cheaper.
Mm.
Because that was something else I was going to bring up is Google's new Pixel is a foldable and it
Yeah.
is $1,800.
Hmm. So that's on the other end of the spectrum
Yeah,
of price.
$600 versus $1,800, and I think the new iPhones are what, like 1,000 or eleven
Yeah.
hundred.
It depends on what you get, but I think just the base phone is like 1,000.
These phones are getting expensive.
Yep. Because everyone needs them. Like,
Yeah, it's to the
not
point
just
where,
needs, but like you need pretty
like,
much
yeah,
to have
like
a
you
phone.
have to have one. You need it for your job. You need it
Yep.
for every aspect of your life now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're everywhere, and I really like to see new companies try to do something that'll stand out. And apparently, they were kind of getting some crap about how it's very similar to the first one. But I mean, you gotta have a design that sticks out and kind of, you can't just make a brand new phone every single year that's a completely different design. You kind of have to have something that's makes you stand out. Like if you see an iPhone, you know it's an iPhone. They're not going to
Mhm.
just do something absurd year after year. But I just really like how this is going to, like you said, a lot of people are not going to know about it. And unless you're really into tech, maybe, and you're not already into Apple and you like Android, maybe some people would be interested in this. The main reason I just wanted to bring it up was because I thought they were really reaching and try to do something unique and cool. And that's something that we haven't seen in a long time from these smartphone companies that have been around. I think the iPhone that is going to come out rumored in September, as it usually does every year, for like the first time in a long time, I think they're finally going to emphasize the battery life and put in a bigger battery. I don't know how long, at least I
Really?
have been wanting more battery life. I mean, we've had all day battery life for 10 years, and it does not last all day if you use it heavily. Um, and especially if you have to use it for your job or anything. But I just like pressure on these companies to try to do something new and try to create. That's, at least for us, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to take these other companies to make the iPhone better. Like I have
Mhm.
an iPhone for my personal, I have an Android for work just because I mean, I got the choice. I could have two iPhones or an iPhone and an Android. And I was like, well, I'm into tech. I might as well learn both.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. Obviously, I use iPhone for everything, and that's connected to the rest of my Apple products. But I like seeing other tech companies do it because I know I will eventually, as an Apple user, I will eventually get them.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people go away from iPhone is because of the battery life, because the cameras, because the foldable, because
Hmm.
mostly gimmicks. Light
Yeah.
up, transparent backing. It's cool. That's what draws people in is cool things. I don't get the complaints saying that, oh, the nothing phone looks exactly like the year before. The iPhone literally switches between looking like a rectangle and looking like a rectangle with no sharp edges. It's one or the other, and it alternates every single year, but it always looks the same.
Yeah. They haven't done something that's just been out there in a very long time. And they are, I feel like they really hold back a lot. I mean, I don't know this, but I feel like they hold back features just so they'll have something for the next year. They could have put in a bigger battery a long time ago, but they know that people who like Apple are going to keep buying them and they're going to keep using them. And if you don't like the battery life, oh, you should get the Pro Max. You should get the bigger one. You should get the Plus. Things like that to try to just to make more money. Nothing wrong with that, but they're a business. Um, but yeah, I just really like that. And one more thing, unless you have something to add on that, I wanted to talk a little bit about iOS 17.
No, before we go to software, I was going to say the other thing that I had
Hmm.
was hardware related. Talking
Okay.
about the iPhone, I think they might have recently applied for a patent. I don't know if I'm using this terminology correctly, but they applied for something uh, that would allow them to roll the display.
Oh,
So I
like
don't
curved
think,
off the edges, like
yes,
Samsung has done in the past. Maybe
yes.
other companies.
Yeah, when remember we had the Galaxy
Mm.
S6 Edge when it had the curved display. Eventually they got rid of the Edge title and just added a little bit of a curve to their normal ones, I think. But the purpose of this rollable display patent, I think, is to extend the screen a little bit more and then like almost tuck it behind the edge so the screen goes completely to the ends, and you'll just have a little bit of screen display tucked around the corner underneath the phone that you won't see.
Yeah,
So I think that's cool.
that's really cool, and I'm sure that they're gonna keep their same baseline iPhones, just for the people that like that. But I mean, that's really great to hear that they're gonna try to do that. I've even heard rumors of them trying to do, um, like a foldable phone. Which, let's just get this out there: are you for the flip and the foldable, or do you think it's gimmicky? What are your thoughts?
Right now, it's just coming out of the gimmicky phase. I was
Okay.
watching a review of the foldable, the new Google Pixel, $1,800. I can't justify that. If for something that I am not sure I'm gonna like, I can't justify it. I don't think anybody's really using tablets anymore. The majority of
Yeah.
people are. I don't see as many iPads as I did when they first came out.
Yeah.
So I think people's phones are getting bigger, and if they can't do it on their phone, they would rather use a computer. So the tablet is just kind of in this weird niche space right now. So the ability, but I do like the ability to have a bigger screen at times. So
Yeah.
having something that can be foldable, it still fit in my pocket, but also be a bigger screen, I would like. But the software, I don't think it's there to support it yet. That's why I say I think it's just coming out of the gimmicky phase to where people are starting to notice, oh, more phones are coming out with this foldable feature. I should make my software able to take advantage of those features.
Yeah, there is a line. There used to be a very visible crease in the early days of this coming out, but over time, obviously it's gotten better. I don't know how much better that's gotten. Um, but it is, for me, it still feels gimmicky. That's why I brought that up. I don't really think it's that great, to be honest. But one day it could be cool. The problem is, at least for me, like what I want is I want it to be able to open up like the fold. I'm not a big fan of like the flip phone. I'm more of like the fold open. Just because that kind of gives you a little bit closer to a tablet when you need it. And if you're going to be on your phone doing a lot of stuff for a while, that would be really handy to be able to just flip it out. But the problem is you're adding so much to the thickness because now you're taking your phone and you're doubling it in size.
Yep,
Um, when it's just in your pocket. So it's very, you're carrying around like a brick.
like
And
two
then,
phones.
yeah, you're basically carrying two phones until tech can get to the point where it's ultra thin, and then when you layer it up, it's not that bad. The notch goes away. The software doesn't look stuttery. When Apple gets on board, when other companies get on board, I think in like 10 years, it could be to the point to where I might want one and it would be more affordable, and it could be at the point to where it's thin enough and good enough. But right now, I think it's a gimmick. I think it's one of the things for the future that could be cool.
Yeah, it's nowhere near where it's going to be.
hmm One thing I wanted to bring up, iOS 17, like I said, one thing that I just think is really cool is the iOS 17 auto completion. This is them getting into not AI, but machine learning. In that entire WWDC event, they did not say AI once. They said machine learning. They don't want to be with everyone else. They got to be different. But I have the beta. You can now get into the public beta. It just released. If you enroll on Apple's website, you can get access to iOS 17 for those of you who don't know. But I would not recommend it, especially if you really rely on your phone because there's bugs and it could potentially cause a lot of problems and it won't be fixed unless you do a backup. Anyway, but one of the coolest features, at least for me, like when I'm texting, it will try to just complete the sentence for me. And sometimes it'll do a good job. Um, it's hasn't been very helpful that many times right now, but I've seen it try to do it. And I think that this is something the more that AI or machine learning gets involved, even in our day-to-day lives, in our on our phone, on iOS, on Twitter, like we mentioned earlier, I'm really curious to see how that will evolve and how Apple will implement that more and more.
Yeah, it's probably wise that they didn't say machine learning. From a business standpoint, that's a smart move not to associate yourself because
You mean
there's
AI, to
lots of
not say AI?
to not say AI. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
said that backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
To call it machine learning and
Yeah.
not AI because right now AI is getting a lot of negative heat.
hmm
So
Yeah.
I think that's smart from their business. It's kind of confusing for us as the end user, but
Yeah. I think it's one of
it's
the
all the
biggest
same thing.
updates. It's one of the biggest updates that they've had in probably a few years, I feel like. They have a standby mode to where it can basically be like a night clock for you. Um, Go check that out. There's a lot of cool different features. Most of them I probably won't use, but it's just kind of cool to see them go down in this direction. So yeah, there's our little update on Threads, the Nothing Phone, Elon's AI, iOS 17. Do you have anything else to add?
That's it for me.
All right, thank you guys for watching. Next episode's going to come out next Thursday, so stick around and find out what we talk about. Bye.